This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Okay. Today is August 23rd. And it is 4:32 according to the clock on the wall. So I call the meeting of the General Services Committee to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Oropesa.
Here.
Vice Chair Moore.
Here.
Member Halverson. Member Savino Sanchez.
Yes.
Awesome. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And for information, Councilor Halverson is not here because she's up in Poland visiting our sister community. So, and there's not a lot on the agenda to begin with anyway, so not really that important.
Thanks.
Why don't we? Sorry. I'm talking about length of agenda items. Generally, we have several.
Oh.
So I guess we're kind of lucky. We only have one.
A very important one.
Important one, but not an action item. Why don't we start with reports? If anybody wants to give reports.
You gotta approve the agenda and the minutes.
Oh, we do have an agenda.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make the motion to approve the agenda for August the 23rd. And are we including the last meeting minutes?
Yes, please.
To also include the meeting from the last month's meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the agenda and approve the minutes as well. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second by Councilor Sanchez. Any discussion on the agenda or the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried unanimously. And so now we'll skip the very important non-action item. And we'll go to the reports while we work on the technical situation that we have here. And we'll go down the line. If you want to give a report, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Spring River report. Do you have anything to report?
Just attendance is growing appropriately, about 10-ish to 20% from the previous years. Nothing overly major that's different from what the report said. So if you have any questions.
Council committee members, do you have any questions concerning the Spring River Zoo report?
No, I don't.
Okay. We'll go to the Recreation Department report.
Okay, yes, sir. Before I give my report, or if you've got any questions, I'll answer those. I've got something that needs to be corrected from the last meeting. I don't know if it's corrected, but just to bring to your attention.
Okay,
Concerning the ICIP.
all right.
In the last packet from last time, we submitted this and had this in your packet. And if you'll look at the part that is highlighted.
Yeah.
Okay, we had, we voted on the part that's highlighted in blue, and it's on the back too. We voted for, we have those two. Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay. So, okay, so we did those, and that's what we put as number 1 and number 2. But when it did get to council, the pricing got flipped. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just bringing that to your attention.
And I think it really is not going to make a lot of difference because this item made it number 2, number 3.
3. Right. So for $330,000, we cannot do every single athletic field. That was for the Styles Field improvements. So that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And just make sure that you knew that.
Why
Question.
don't you- Go ahead.
So is it correct in the minutes that we just approved? Is that number incorrect in the minutes? We need to make sure we approve that. Why didn't you say that when we were saying we were approving the minutes if it was incorrect?
The thing is that
It was correct. It was correct in the minutes, Counselor Moore.
she's talking about the one that was presented at city council.
Yes,
City council was incorrect.
city council was in.
Yeah, the minutes of the city council are going to have to be corrected.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yep.
The minutes will stand as they are because that's what was approved for city council.
Right.
But we haven't met since city council. Did we do this one last month? So this coming month, there'll be a presentation of the minutes.
Yes.
So that's when we'll make the corrections to the minutes.
That's the city council.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
No, because what was sent to ICIP was the 350 for lighting. That was sent, and so.
Mike, can you help us out?
I can help you a little bit, and Mr. Cole can help out too. Counselor Foster, I believe, was the one that placed 4 of his dots on that project that made it on the list of the top 5. Mr. Cole has spoken to Counselor Foster, let him know about that. He was fine with it. He understands it. If we get the 350, his was the parking lot lights that, he understands we can't do all the fields. But kind of vague field really needs the parking lot lights, but they made that a priority. We would be okay with it. We have spoken.
Okay,
It was all his thoughts on that project.
but the issue will be raised at city council to have that corrected.
Right. It needs to be corrected so that everybody understands.
Okay,
And he was the only one that it affected because it was his votes. So that's why we reached out, or the city manager reached out.
okay.
Go ahead. Unless anybody has any questions on the report.
Committee member, do you have any questions for concerning the recreation department?
Only kind of question I had was concerning, I guess I hadn't been getting any emails or whatever, but the mold and all that stuff is taken care of at the rec place?
Yes, ma'am. And the indoor pool has been open since July 8th.
Okay, I guess since she brought that one up, are you through, Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Is the showers? I understand that they don't have the private curtains.
Correct. Yeah, that's on our list.
Uh,
Things to do, but we did use that money for that generator, and then we had to use the money for the mold abatement. So.
But did they have curtains already? Never have?
They never had individual stalls of any kind.
Okay,
Oh, we put a little privacy screen up that we replaced.
and it's not,
like a PVC pipe privacy screen. Yeah, we got a new one, but we don't have anything permanent.
okay,
No hard structure,
No.
but they replaced what was there
Yeah.
before.
That we replaced. We
but
replaced.
there is some kind of privacy
Barely.
for them to shower.
Mhm.
Like a shower curtain.
Well, it's like it's like a screen that you kind of roll up and you put it in front of you in the shower.
Okay,
Stretched fabric over PVC.
Yep.
so how many showers do you have for?
It's
I think what I saw was like 4 shower heads.
it has multiple shower heads on each structure. So you've got 3 in the women's. And
Okay.
you've got, and on each one of those structures, it's like a little 3-plex thing. That has 3.
And then you have roll away type of thing to put in between?
We have 1, yeah.
Just one?
Yeah. They're not lasting very long. We tried to put in 3 of them and they didn't last through the summer.
Okay, so,
So we'll either order some more or see if there's some type of a permanent fix we can do with the money left over.
okay.
I'll let you know next month, the progress on that.
Anybody in the public have any questions concerning recreation? Anybody online like to have any questions concerning the recreation report? Certainly not. So what about we're waiting on the Roswell Library.
I have something to add, if that's on the list,
Okay,
on the next one.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we had a power outage on Friday and then again on Sunday. And our electrician spent a considerable amount of trying to figure out why 9 banks of lights were out. And one of the things, and this was, I don't think this is the reason, but this was discovered.
Oh.
Cool. Melted wire. It was addressed thankfully, but he also is, the electrician is also concerned that there might be more wires that are melted. So we've already spent, we put together a purchase order for $10,000 for the electrician for the whole year. We've already spent $8,000 because we had some safety issues that had to be dealt with, some safety lights that weren't working, some receptacles that were too close to water. But this is a concern for us. So I've asked him to go ahead and chase down he saw some other wires that were loose and that sort of thing. But I told him that it needed to be addressed. So my maintenance budget has just plummeted. Plus, the air conditioning decided not to work. And facilities took it to as far as they could take it. And now we're requesting some help from some specialists. And I will know more about that on Thursday, but.
But we don't have a maintenance facility. What was it, director? Was that his title?
We do.
We have an interim there at this time.
I'm sorry?
We have an interim director over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's met with me. He knows what's going on, but you can't have this in the world. You can't have this.
Nope.
any-
That doesn't look good at all.
No, it does not. It's like, surprise.
Any questions by committee members? Any questions by anybody? Anybody online have any questions concerning the library report? Anybody in attendance have any questions? And then we'll go to the golf course or cemetery department report.
I think we're good on the cemetery and the golf course, but I do want to talk about the parks.
Mail it to me.
So you
already emailed.
you can talk to either one of them or talk all of them if you want to.
But 3D model, you don't have the software for it.
Okay.
We're doing a lot of maintenance at Cielo Grande right now on the soccer field, and they're actually closed. It has no trespassing signs. And we're keeping everybody out at least a week. Not letting anyone in. So
If you want to email it to me, I can.
we'll have security and whatever we need out there.
have a program to make.
Massive amount of sludge out there. And it's something we don't want to public on at all. So the trail's closed and the actual soccer field is, we're working with the youth soccer groups.
And they are getting ready to start in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, about a week.
About a week.
Yeah, about a week and a half, so pinning, laying out the stripes and all that. So we're working together.
Yes, I did.
We're talking to each other about everything.
She should have.
Everything.
You should have the PDFs we submitted on Friday. They're just black pictures.
Anyhow,
To
and
me.
then we also have an
Yeah.
adult
Yeah.
soccer league out on the main field. The competition field is looking good,
At least.
and we're working with
You're not
the
hearing.
school district on their play.
Let me send them to you.
AD there.
Okay.
Main thing out there is we need everybody to stay off those soccer fields. That's not something you want to drag back into your car, have on your soccer ball. Okay? And so if you hear anything about that, it's,
All right.
Were they in the packet?
Anything else? Cemetery,
cemetery's doing good. Ruben should be back to work Monday, I hope, Tuesday. Had some issues, but they sewed him back together. He's okay.
you have anything on the parks?
Not really. I mean, it's the same thing. Just taking care of business. That major issue is the fields.
Okay.
Have you on the golf course? They did fantastic. We did more night tournaments and he did more tournaments than we have in a very long time. And making some staff changes, but I was out there yesterday and it's fantastic. Of course, it's beautiful. We did take some more millings out there. When we have a chance, we kind of take a couple dump trucks out for the cart path. And then David puts them out and then we kind of bring some more in. So that's ongoing.
There it is.
Is there any questions from the committee members concerning the report on the park cemetery?
I have a question. Mr. Chairman, I would just relay a message I received this week from a citizen called about the golf course. Said it's never looked better. Phenomenal. He's really appreciative.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I have a question.
You have a question?
Are all the golf carts here?
Not yet. No, I've got the ball picker and the beverage cart.
Okay.
So he's spending enough time.
Is the beverage cart, does it have any like power? Or is it a push? What is it?
It's gas. It's the beverage cart, full service.
I don't know.
You know, it's, you know.
I have no idea.
there's whiskey,
It shouldn't
all kinds of good stuff.
Fleet have that information?
I don't know. Do you want it? I mean, I can give you the.
It's gas powered.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a
Golf
qualifier.
carts too, huh?
There's a qualifier with gas and electric. So I've just got a gas
Not really.
ball picker, so. I guess we
I'll
can
need
put some
all that.
stickers on it, but we'll take care of it.
All right.
Come on.
Is there any other questions concerning the report by Jim? Anybody online or in attendance? And if not, let us go ahead and complete the reports so we can go into our non-action item. The next one is Roswell Transit.
We don't really have anything new. Anybody have any questions? We're still waiting on new buses. We've had them ordered for 2 to 3 years now, but.
Okay, so we'll go to the last report, the Roswell Museum.
So we thankfully had building maintenance monies this year, and it is plummeting very quickly too. We've had a number of HVAC units go out, which was part of our ICIP request that made it into the top 5, which is great. Some of it we're pursuing now just out of necessity because we have to maintain the climate control environment for our collections and also for our visitors. So some was happening the next 1 to 5 months. And then remaining units and a sub-panel issue will hopefully be addressed through ICIP requests if that makes it through the state legislative feature. Let's see what else. Flooring. So our hardwood started going in this week. It's very exciting in one of our galleries. We're doing it by priority of events and activities, exhibitions that are coming up. So we start with what we call our working gallery. You're welcome to come by at any time and take a look, but it's looking really beautiful. We are also in the process of preparing for our reaccreditation that I've mentioned before. And so as part of that process, we're reviewing internal policies, our mission statement, bylaws, code of ethics. And so all that's going before our board of trustees presently. And at our meeting earlier this week, they did vote to approve a refined, revised mission statement. Doesn't change our scope of our mission at all. It's just better wordsmithing. I did put out to Amalia and to Josh whether we need to take that through the city council. It's not a content change, it's just a wordsmithing change. So I'm not sure if we still need to take it that step further, but so far it's gone approved through the board of trustees. We can come back to that if you need to, but then I also just have several activities coming up. We have festival in October, chalk art and contest in September. We're doing our artisan market again that we did last December. We are now doing it in November and December. And we're doing a shared collaborative event with all the museums in town, which I was surprised to figure out there's actually 7 of us, 7 museums. And so we're collaborating together to have a museum day. And so Public Affairs have been helping us with all the print materials and that'll be on September 16th. So all the museums in Roswell will be free on September 16th. We'll have various activities, tours, flight simulator, Walker Aviation, drawings, giveaways, that kind of thing. So it should be a really fun day. And it's just there to encourage people to partake in our local museums.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions from committee members? Any questions from the public? Any questions from people attending online? You cannot hear, thank you, my.
It might be on their end.
And if not, that's the end of the reports. So we'll go to our non-action item.
All right, Mr. Chairman, thank you. My name is Greg Holman. This is Missy Holman. We're with Studio 27 Architects and Interior Design. We were helping the library envision some ideas for expanding their play and learn area off of the children's area into an outdoor space. Unfortunately, we aren't able to get our laptop hooked up, so we're not going to be able to kind of get into the 3D model that we have of that, but we do have some imagery there that we can kind of explain. Why don't you, if you go to that first page.
Walk around.
And I don't know if we can full screen it from here.
Yeah.
There's the expand
arrows.
there.
Little arrows.
There you go. So what we're looking at is off of the children's area right there adjacent to the main entry is capturing some of that space in an enclosed courtyard, providing some activities for various play and learn for the younger kids, some area for reading, some area for art, and then some outdoor activities there, and as well as a music garden in around the tree there to the east, and then another area kind of towards the alley side where we would capture space for, right where she's circling there, would be a community garden space with some raised gardening beds to do some education and gardening classes, being its own area. We've got some shade structures along that side because it does catch quite a bit of sun down that area, but trying to provide a pleasant environment for kids to be out there in an enclosed and safe area off of the children's area for play and learn. What we're envisioning there is to extend out a deck area over what is now that grassy, where the trees are there. So an extended deck area that would come out level with the walkway, so that we could have a kind of accessible flat area for use there, but still maintaining the trees that are in there and maintaining permeability for rainfall and things to be looking at, because there is a little detention pond there that is captures for rainfall on that. So that'd be this area right here. So we're still looking at maintaining those 2 trees that are in place, and probably just for ease of maintenance and keeping the library clean, the green area would probably not be natural turf, but we would bring in an artificial there that would still be permeable, but it would help to control tracking of mud and leaves and grass and that type of thing into the children's area. So it'd mean opening up a one door into that area, and of course we would have gates in and out of that area as well, but there would be a controlled environment so that parents could feel safe in that. So the fence that we're envisioning there would be at least 6 feet high, most of which is going to have kind of varying levels of visual acuity through it, so that we can have some amount of privacy, but some interest in people coming by that they can see activity in there, but it doesn't feel like a display cage. So I'm going to the next thing. So these are some of the areas that we were envisioning for that. That top picture shows that music garden area. So we're showing a particular brand of outdoor musical instruments that are whether they've got a lot of the nature scapes with it. So right there, I think a group of tenor trees, and then the mushrooms have kind of a steel drum sound. And unfortunately, our larger presentation, we even have some audio with that gives some samplings of that. And then these green tubes with the colorful tops are attuned drum set. There's lily pads right back in there that are cymbals, and then a xylophone. There's a bunch of different types of instruments that this company offers, but it leads into the theme that we have for that space, which is kind of developing a fairy garden feel, so that we have these instruments that look like natural elements. And then the separating fence that we're showing there between our play and learn area and the gardening area, the concept we have for that is bringing in where we can have some visual between the two spaces, but it does delineate it as a separate space. And we were showing, trying to play off of the library theme, bringing in some letters in the background, and then some words that kind of float in and out of that frame. If you follow along from the left there, around and down, it says imagination knows no boundaries. And then in the middle, it says don't fence me in. Of course, it says frame around where the gate is and gate where the gate is. Now, those are all conceptual, but that's the idea, is to have something that's kind of fun and playful there, and just separates those two spaces and secures that area of the garden area from the rest of it. So the gardening area would be for specific classes that the library had going on. And then the bottom picture here is more towards the entry side. So we have a little side courtyard off of that where we've shown a space to relocate. There's a nice memorial sundial that is currently in the space. And so we would relocate that and give it a little bit more prominent location up there and develop around that with the existing Anderson statue that's there. Unfortunately, I couldn't model the kids on there, but the statue is there, or the bench is there. So kind of using that as its own little niche, we create a little weekend garden right there for people to have a little bit more relaxed, quiet space. If something else is going on in the larger space, you can do that. And then a little play on a hopscotch area that would also be colorful and literary as well. So we developed that kind of based on a Mondrian type artwork. And then all along this fence, as part of a way to kind of break up the fence line and give some privacy, but also gives us areas for some art projects around there. Those would be little art stations where you could do maybe a chalk type drawings on that, or we could do water painting and things like that, but keeping that outside and making it as part of the space itself. And then we've got another spot there with some more of the instruments, so it kind of flows through the whole space. And then what we don't see there, you just kind of catch the corner of it there. In the corner, we developed a little stage area for outdoor productions, that type of thing. They look like kind of two books stacked on each other to make a platform. So there's some ideas that, so something like this theater right there, except we developed it to look a little bit more like a stacked books as the stage setting.
Fairy garden.
Little fairy garden we're envisioning in that music area. And then this is some examples of raised beds that could be used so that they are both functional, but they're also handicap accessible, and keeps things up off the ground and cleaner than digging in the dirt. If kids come to the library, their parents may not want them coming home covered in dirt. So
we thought Enid really liked the idea of music, and we thought the music thing would be a nice thing that most of all of our other parks have lots of other kinds of play like this. But the music gives a different kind of play than you find at most of the other parks in Roswell, so that, we're not just replicating what there already is, but we're kind of exploring into another area. And then this kind of goes.
And this is just some more kind of thematically a take on the ferry garden and ferry towers that we were going to place in some of the spots. The little pathways that we hope to develop kind of from the inside to outside. I don't know if you've been in the children's area of the library recently, but they've developed a very nice kind of outdoor feel and a koi pond and little river that runs the whole perimeter of the windows. And so opening up that set of windows with a door, we were thinking we would envision like a little bridge that crossed the river to get to the outside. So it sort of takes that element from the inside to the outside. And then there's just an example of those art type boards that can be done with watercolors or chalks or water paint. And then in that garden area, we were hoping for a little geodome, ant farm, terrarium to be part of that educational space as well.
No ants.
Except that we're anti-ants. So maybe worms instead.
Maybe worms, but you can see how the plants grow. Just another great way to teach why they're growing if it's not 900 degrees outside. Lately, I'm not sure anything's going to grow like that.
Could you go back to the first one? Okay, so as you come out, we also have a little pit that we can put
right here.
right there. That's for infants, so that they can move around.
Little sand bed
or something in there.
Yeah,
and then there's a water table. Water table there.
That can be taken back in here and put away, or can be brought out and used, however, so
that area right there would be kind of a gravel area for more the dirt and water play area.
And here's the back of the stage. I wish we could show you. We could show you on our laptop if you'd like to see the 3D.
Once we're done with this, if you want to gather around, we can walk you like on the screen here inside the model and get better views of this. Unfortunately, I'm sorry we couldn't get it up onto the big screen. So right now, those planters, they had some trouble with trees that were there and kicking up the sidewalk. And so those trees and bushes have been taken out. I think that the library has plans for donor bricks to go in some of those areas. So that's what we're showing in those spaces there as you approach the library.
There is a gate, just so you know, for accessibility reason, there's a gate here. There's gates out over here by but there's gates as well, but most of the time those would not be accessible from the outside. You would just get to the space from inside the library.
I would consider those more exiting areas rather than use to enter and exit, just to control the traffic flow in there, just so people know that their kids are secure. Now, the second part of this.
Because part of that I really like is the alphabets that are used on the gate, and that's right in the front.
Yeah, we did.
You can't see it, but if you could point it out right there.
Right here.
Is on the gate is the alphabet. So part of the whole process of this is it's an early literacy friendly to young children. We're not looking at teens going in there or the other playgrounds tend to be for older kids. So this is really for the very young kids. All the glass area there, if someone is inside, they can see what's going on from the outside there. But it uses music because there's so much research on how important music is for child development. There's places for sing, talk, read, write, and play. That's why we wanted the chalkboards where they could paint with water or write with water. No cleanup there because it'll just evaporate. The outdoor drama stage where we can put a performer out there and it will be seen by just not only in the library, but outside too. There is little mushrooms that have like checkerboards in there. But we also have mushrooms that are symbols. You have xylophones and trees. And so it's really kind of something that would be unique for Roswell and really unique for New Mexico.
And what we'd be looking at there for that decking area would be a synthetic rather than a natural wood, just because our climate doesn't do well for natural wood. The sun tends to bake it pretty badly, but we do have quite a number of synthetic products that perform very well. That little area that Enid was talking about with the front alphabet would also be kind of the face of this space to the public, and so we're using it as signage as well. So putting in larger kind of lettering that says "Play and Learn" on one side, and then doing it in Spanish on the other side as well. So we're trying to emphasize bilingual in all of the space, so that it is open to a broad range of experiences. So on that right there, I think you can see a little bit in that. Although it's not very close, you can see that it says Play and Learn. We've actually modified that now to have Play and Learn on one side. And then I won't try to say the Spanish because I won't pronounce it well, but it says Play and Learn in Spanish on the other side.
We also talked to some people on using color to celebrate the cultural history of Roswell. There's a certain tile colors that are used that are important to the Hispanic population. And so we were going to put that in there. So we were also looking at putting some potted plants in there and making sure that those potted plants are a specific color. So there's a reason that
and we can show you
the shaded area is that color. Okay.
So right now, it's very conceptual, although it looks relatively finished. It's very conceptual still in nature here. So there's still a wide range of directions this could go, colors and themes and that type of thing. So moving on to the next. So the next area that
if I go up there, right across here, across the alley, in between these two buildings is the little Plaza Park.
Plaza, yeah.
So that's what we're going to go to next.
So they asked that we would envision.
There's more Play and Learn.
Yeah, so this gives you a little bit more view of the musical instruments there in use, and then those little art pieces on
the toadstool.
Yeah.
Tic-tac-toe or mushroom.
So in the Roswell Library Plaza, we wanted to develop a little bit more of an active area in that space that is right now the library park, that is gated in and is, I think, used fairly regularly, but it's just one open space right now, concrete and then the walls on either side. Towards the backside, there's a couple planting beds with trees there, and right now I think they're having a bit of a hard time maintaining those because there's not water run to the back and the water meters up at the front there. So we're trying to achieve a couple things. One being that we wanted to get electricity and water into this space so that we could better take care of those planting beds and trees in the back part, and then get some lighting and a little bit more life to it in the evenings as well. So really the only option that we had, or the best option we have for getting water, would be where the meter is currently located up there in the front sidewalk, and then we would be cutting in to get water to the back. But rather than just cutting a straight trench and calling it good, we thought we could kind of double duty that. Cut us a trench to get water back there, but use it as a decorative element to create us a little bit of a dry riverbed effect there. And you can see these tiles that we're suggesting putting in that, so they'd be recessed in that. So it'd be flush with the concrete, and everything would be accessible, but it would give the appearance and feel of a riverbed running through there. So we kind of have a meandering riverbed through there. And then we placed in a few stylistic trees, kind of custom tree sculptures that could also be used to get us some lights strung through there. Right now we're just showing kind of a straightforward string of lights that could be used. So this could be a multi-function space, and then maybe in the evenings it could perform as a little reception area, or have a small concert there, or whatever might happen in there. And then in the daytime it could be used for activities with the kids, or lunch groups, or whatever might happen in there. But we would have power available to us, water available to us. And then right at the backside there, there's the parking area for the library right now. And so it could very easily, you could bring in like a catering truck or porta potties or whatever, have a small reception in that area if they chose to rent it out. Now on that north wall where you see those big books, right now we've got shared walls with the buildings either side of us. And on the south side, there is that stone bench that runs up the whole side. And we're planning on just keeping that because it's a very nice little spot for people to sit.
Creates a lot of seating
Yeah.
in a narrow.
On the north side, the owner of that building has invested in a large mural down that side, which is very nicely done, but maybe not the most appropriate material for just any event gathering there. And rather than trying to ask them to remove that or paint over it or lose what they've invested in there, our idea is to create some sliding movable devices that could shade that. So these books that are shown in there are envisioned to be on a sliding track so that they could actually be moved in and out of place to cover up that mural that is there if it's not appropriate for the event that is being held, or they can be opened up and the mural can be visible if it's not a problem. And it could also just give some activity to that space as well. So it's not always the same space when you come in. Those books could be, to one end or another or spread apart. And so those are just shown with a rolling track on the bottom and a guide cable across the top that would help those to move.
It's also a fun way for kids to play with books in a different way and like books.
And we think those would be fairly easy to achieve with like a aluminum truss and a plastic or PVC type coating. And then the Wrap Studio here in town does large format graphics that can be applied basically to anything. And so we could apply a graphic that looks like the book binding that we would like to see. And then we have this kind of fun element that can move in and out of there.
And the neighbors can like the space as well.
Yeah, and it can be used for downtown activities just during the day, be opened up and people can come and go and use it as they like. So.
I do think it could be a really nice space for like small venue rentals. Like we talked a lot about that day we sat out there, that it's a great smallish sized venue. I mean, I think you could easily get 6 tables, maybe even 8 round tables. So if you're hosting a small reception or something like that, where you didn't need a giant space. And then like Greg mentioned, right there in the parking lot, kind of in the back here, there is a gate, but the gate can be open. And then behind that, you could have, a catering truck or porta potties, something like that, so that it would make a nice space for the library to have opportunity to rent some space to different events and, be more usable than it just is now, that it's just kind of an alleyway of concrete.
And again, at this point, it's still very conceptual, but what we're looking at, there is some sort of sculptural element that would suggest a tree shape. It provides shade. It provides a good way to light the space without having to get actual trees in there, which would be difficult and costly. And then it's just one more thing for the city to maintain. This would kind of give that feel without having to have additional maintenance for the city.
It also was a way to provide the lighting throughout the whole space without attaching to both buildings all the way or it was kind of.
Yeah, right now we're showing to attach to the south building and back and forth between the trees, because at this point, the relationship with the building owners on the south is better than the relationship with the building owners on the north. So we're trying to avoid any conflicts. So any questions about any of this that we can?
I'd love to show it to y'all 3-dimensional.
Yeah, we'd love to.
3D. I was even thinking if the camera I don't know. But if anybody'd like to see things, or we could walk around a little bit.
The front gate would be beautiful to see.
We can get in. If you want to see, you're welcome to gather around and take a look. We can get around in the computer here, but unfortunately we just can't get it into the space.
That's right. This one.
Okay.
So I like that because it has the alphabet in it to kind of get your kind of welcoming. Can you push it all the way to the end of the table?
When you're looking at that, is there any questions from the committee members that they want to address?
See it all?
I do have one question, and obviously it's the cost.
Yes.
And this for INRID. Where is the money coming from and?
It was on the ICIP list,
Okay.
okay? So I'm hoping that we will get some money that way. We are doing the library, the Roswell Library Foundation is doing a fundraising project selling memorial bricks that are going to be put in on the west side of the library that has about 900 bricks. Then on the front, there's a place for 400 bricks and then 2 more spots that have 300 bricks. That will get us some of the way through. I mean, that gives us part of the money, but it's not going to be all of the money.
Because if I remember the information correctly, it's around 300, a little over $300,000, 320 or something like that.
$310,000.
Yeah.
With,
Somewhere in that area.
yeah, oh yeah.
And that's really a little bit of a guesstimate at this point because we haven't really gotten deep into the actual nuts and bolts of this project, but we took into account kind of material costs and general labor that we would assume for like the built area, like the deck and the stage and those type of things, and then costing on the musical instruments and some of the materials. So it is a good ballpark figure, but it's certainly not refined.
And are we looking at any type of grant through state, federal, or anything like that?
We haven't looked at any federal grants. I haven't looked at any state grants yet. I wanted to get some buy-in. I mean, by selling the bricks and purchasing the bricks, you're doing buy-in from the community. So we wanted to do that first. And then from there, go on to the next one. Like I said, I would hope that we could get it raised up on the ICIP list. Because the first 5 usually get funded and the other ones don't, but it's on the list. It's not going to happen this year. So.
But even if it's not on the top 5, doesn't mean that it can't. If you got the money,
miracles do happen.
You can always.
Yeah, I can look, believe me, I'm looking for other ways of fund, but we want to get the first part of it done. So we need to have more planning done. So, as I said, this is a schematic, and I'm going to be, I mean, there's more stages to be doing this.
Is there any questions?
There's lots, there's a whole nother dump some money and get some better plans, right?
I'm just starting to architect.
Yeah. So this can be done in stages, so or phases.
Well, really, it's kind of 2 little small projects. The Plaza Park is a separate thing from the play and learn, so that those 2 could be completely done separately.
Yes,
So, and then play and learn could probably be broken down into some phasing.
But probably the size of it, to get any type of, economy of scale on it probably would be a single phase project because it's not a large project to begin with. So if you tried to break it up in chunks, to me, it would end up costing you more in the long run to do like this part and then later try and come back and do that part and the other. And then not knowing, when it's going to be funded, how the cost escalation will continue. That estimate that we have is like I say, a good guess.
Well, and I would also say to me, it seems like the fencing the fencing around that whole area is really important. And I would hate to see the fencing go in and nothing happen behind it because it would look pretty weird and like we didn't know what we were doing from a city standpoint. So I kind of feel like we would have to do a lot of it, even in that first phase of this project to make it look.
Well, even
I
really to
mean,
get the fencing in there,
I think,
this bottom corner here it needs to raise up because we're trying to level off that whole thing and it falls away from the building fairly dramatically right now down to the sidewalk area. So there's some concrete work in there along with that fencing just to get the fencing in and level. Not to mention, of course.
now like the raised garden back behind there, I
Yeah, the
mean,
garden
maybe
area
that could be a little
separate.
sub-project back behind there.
that's how you planned it to.
Yeah, and we had
Right.
broken that out as a separate.
So, I mean, there are some things that don't have to be all done up front, but on the whole, this one probably needs to be more of a.
But unfortunately, that garden area is a pretty small piece of the puzzle. I'm talking a gravel area.
Yes, sir.
If I could, of the architects, this is a concept at this point.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I see 585,000 roughly is your estimate for the two projects combined. How much are we estimating for the design?
For the architectural fee?
We haven't given a fee on design on that. It would entirely depend on how we approach the projects. We had talked about them being two separate projects. So I think typically we would be in the 8 to 10% range on a design. And so if we were dealing with the first project separate and then the second project comes in 2 years later, then that would be two separate approaches. If it was all together, then we might be on the lower end of the percentage. If it's a larger project, if it's a smaller project, it tends to creep up in the percentage. So somewhere in 8 to 10%. And that would include the engineering that would go along with that. So it'd be architect and engineering. So for electrical, mechanical.
I think from my perspective, I'd rather see a project whole instead of in phases, because sometimes we tend to kind of complete phase one and then we don't have the money for phase two, phase three or whatever, and then we've kind of put it to the back burner and we kind of forget about it. So the more that we can add to the project, we would be, in my opinion.
And
Anybody else?
what are we expecting the income from the sale of the bricks to be?
$800,000.
Secret.
It's going to be about 1/3 of the cost of the project as quoted right now.
How much are they gonna sell the bricks for?
$125.
And are they gonna pay for the cost of the bricks, or is that out of what?
That includes I did do the math. I have all my fingers and my toes. So what I did is I took the cost of the brick. I haven't got an estimate for installation. The cost of the brick includes shipping, confirmed that. Did the math of how many, if we sold, how many bricks we would sell to get our cost.
Didn't facilities do your brickwork of the sale of that little wall thing?
Wasn't really ours, it was more the convention center's project. But yeah, they set it up. I think altogether they spent, it was a whole thing, 140, 150,000, I don't know. But the sale of the bricks had happened 20 years prior.
Thankfully, you already have the space available for the bricks. You're not having to develop a new
Or build a wall.
display area for the bricks. You already have them kind of ready built for you. So that does help control that cost.
Yeah, and we're talking about some dark bricks around the edges if we have to cut bricks in half to fit things in there. So we got to figure it out. It'll all come together.
Let me ask anybody that's online, see if there's any questions from them. I have like two of them, I guess. Mr. Moore, do you have any questions?
No, not really. This looks really interesting. It seemed like a lot. I'm just not quite sure when they're talking about not even starting it until they have sold the bricks. So are we looking a couple of years down the road? I also feel like I agree with you about the stages, that we usually get stuck in stage one or planning stage. And so I kind of want before y'all put this out anywhere, to make sure they got the funding started at least. I think that would be, you know.
Okay, anybody else? Any more comments? If not, thank you all very much for your presentation, even though we had some problems.
Thank you.
And just to remind everybody, make sure that you sign in so we can have a record of who was here. And so with that, we go to public participation. Anybody have anything? Yes, ma'am.
We've already heard most of it, so. All right, I am Carrie Moore. I'm president of Friends of Spring River Zoo. Modern zoos strive to educate visitors about zoo animals and conservation needs while fostering appreciation for wildlife in general. Visitors have a more positive perception about zoos, their animals, and conservation initiatives the more they interact with animals and naturalistic exhibits and zoo programming. A survey conducted by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums revealed that the general public rates conservation and education as the most important roles of zoos. What is the difference between a zoo, a sanctuary, and a rehabilitation center? The main purpose of a zoo is to educate the public on wildlife they may never encounter on their own. Sanctuaries are a place for wildlife that cannot survive in the wild on their own and oftentimes have been rescued from awful captive situations. Wildlife rehabilitation centers are places where local wild animals that are injured or orphaned recuperate before returning to their wild homes. Spring River Zoo is a cross somewhere between a zoo and a sanctuary, but is not fully vested in either mission. According to the city's website, Spring River Zoo works to enrich the lives of Roswell residents through exposure to wildlife and educational programs and events. Spring River Zoo drives curiosity, fosters a love of animals, and environmental conservation. Staff develops new and initiative programming that serves residents, tourists, and students with intimate educational experience. As a zoo's partner, the Friends help support the ongoing efforts and growth of the zoo. Our mission is to raise money through membership drives and fundraising events to be appropriated to exhibits, enclosures, and enrichment for the animals. Our support is offered to enhance education and environmental programs for the public. Since 2018, Friends has contributed over $116,000 to the zoo for the feline exhibits, reptile terrarium, signage, longhorn shelter, and numerous animal acquisitions like the longhorns, wallabies, capybaras, kinkajous, mini pigs. We recently agreed to purchase a gear for the carousel in order to put it back in use to enhance the visitor's experience, even though the carousel, the train, and the pond experiences are not part of the Friends mission. We are highly concerned about the future of our zoo. In the last few months, the educational employee position was removed. The new bear enclosure work is halted, and many of the newly acquired animals and others have been given away. We are concerned about the immediate future of the bears, the birds of prey, and the peacocks. We believe these animals will also be rehomed soon. We are losing more and more animals and have seen no plans to replace the empty exhibits that now sit. Is the goal to close Spring River Zoo? If the intent is to keep the zoo open, we would like to see a list of upcoming projects, both short-term and long-term, including the future of the bear and birds. We want the educational position returned. This could be achieved with a partnership between the city, RSD, NMUR, to fulfill the zoo's mission of providing educational programming and events. We want staff available on the weekends, the busiest time for the zoo, to maintain bathroom cleanliness and safety. We want to see Spring River Zoo shed its reputation as a roadside zoo by pursuing professional accreditation, which is in the works. We're just making sure that, want to make sure it stays in that. Without a clear direction on where the zoo is headed, we are having to cancel our fall fundraiser, Oktoberfest. It's difficult to raise money with a good conscience without knowing where the money will be utilized. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns?
I have a question for the young lady. What are we going to, are we just going to, I know we don't get to vote or anything, but her questions and concerns, their questions and concerns are valid to me. I had that very same question. What direction are we going with the zoo? I know they stopped the charging and this, that, and whatever, but there still needs to be some type of direction. I think that has to happen. I know there's a lot of changes, a lot of plans, a lot of things have changed in the direction of the zoo. But I think that the friends of the zoo deserve that type of interest, and so does the city of Roswell deserve to know what direction the director or whoever wants to take the zoo. I know it's voted on by the city council. I understand all of that, but some direction or some way for something like that, I think would be very helpful and beneficial to them. I think they deserve an answer to her question. And I don't want just her letter, her question put in the notes that it was just there. I think it needs to be addressed to whoever's going to handle it and brought to the city council or whoever it needs to go for, so we can see what the direction of the zoo is going to be. Are you?
Okay, thank you. And I agree as well, but I think right now, since we're going through a restructuring of departments and what have you, I'm not sure if Jim is the one that's still, or the one in charge of the zoo, or who is the one that you're saying, yes. Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, so we all have concerns about the zoo. I have concerns myself, certainly with reduction in animals and what we've seen in terms of facility maintenance, facility staff, gate receiving staff. I think we call those guest services, have been reduced since we went to a no-charge zoo type facility. Priority number one right now is the facility. It hasn't been taken care of. We've got a train track issue. My understanding that the train tracks are on order. The train tracks are on order. We've got the well being reviewed by a well service, the well pump. So you've seen the progress over it around the pond itself, and that is in large part thanks to Mr. Rudy Chavez and the parks through Jim Burris and them putting a whole team of people out there. And they've revisited that and removed several truckloads, trailer loads of overgrowth that have been there at the zoo. The carousel, that's a safety concern. We appreciate the gear. That's wonderful. What we're seeing is the actual gearing and braking. So it's a little fast for small children to be riding on there.
I spent that fast. We all worked.
That ride as well. We've seen sprinkler heads that have not been replaced, have been capped. So we're addressing the irrigation system throughout the park as well. We've taken down the 8-foot chain link fence that divided the park. So things are happening over there pretty rapidly. I think the vision for the zoo is we want the zoo open to the public and a proper facility that's safe and clean and the grass is cut and all of those things are moving forward.
Okay, thank you. And, I guess my concern still is the hours the zoo and the park is being open. I think we're opening at 10 o'clock, closing at 4 o'clock or something like that. I don't know whether the policy still is in place where you have to call before 3:30 if you want to visit the zoo or not. But my hope is that when you start looking at it, maybe not this year, but for future, that we try to see if we can open the zoo and the park like 8 o'clock, especially during the summer.
Yes, sir.
And close, we used to say close at sunset, but it actually like 5 or 6 o'clock or whatever, as opposed to the hours that we're having right now. So an answer to you, Mrs. Moore, I think the staff is working on it, and hopefully we will get better answers to Mrs. Moore's comments and questions that she brought up. Hopefully here in the near future.
Next month's meeting?
Um,
You want a presentation on the next month's meeting or for questions or no?
No. No, we'll look at next month's agenda and see what comes up and see if we only have one agenda item again.
One important.
One important. Anything else? Anybody from the public that would like to address the committee?
I would just say that we went to the zoo our whole life on that carousel that fast and none of us died.
Yeah.
And we had many years of the bunny walk there with a lot of kids with Down syndrome and nobody died. I'm all for the carousel.
That's a good ride.
I have many times.
And then
I've mentioned that it does run just as fast when we were younger, but now that we're parents, we see how fast it really goes.
I'm really all for it.
it
I think
seems a
it's
lot
great.
faster than what it was when we were kids.
I have ridden it every year for many years that when the buddy walk was there and I'm great with it. I say go carousel, go.
It's amazing artwork there.
One comment towards the end here, today, we actually looked at the cost of installing a dummy gear that they started manufacturing last fiscal year. And we're negotiating what the price would be to install that gear. And then after that, obviously we're looking at a variable speed motor where we're not flinging anybody off of it. So we're moving forward. As even as today, and cutting some POs to get some more of the animals painted. And plus running around all the town buying materials and tools and stuff for the crews that are actually redoing the animals. So everything's moving forward behind the scenes.
I do know that we have a really wonderful asset in Roswell. Miss Iris Watson is the little volunteer lady that knows everything about carousels, and her heart is all about that. And I think she's a wonderful asset that we have her as our carousel champion. She is a carousel champion.
You know, one other thing that was brought up, because I went to the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on Monday. Well, one of the things that was brought up was the educator position. And if I understood Rita, I don't know if she's on.
She didn't have sound.
Maybe she's not on online. But she has offered her services as a volunteer. And I understand she has a doctor's degree or master's degree of some sort.
PhD.
Yep. To do the educator duties, I guess. So I don't know whether she has been turned down or she hasn't been officially offered her services.
We talked to her today also about some things and obviously working with the school district since we have a way in now. You know, and with the teachers and what are they teaching, what's in their classroom, what grades, what would they like to see? You know, once again, you know, why owls have feathers on their talons, these types of things. Whatever we can teach and look for volunteers and so on.
Okay. Anything else? I think you were wanted to say.
I was just gonna add, well, we greatly, truly love the train, the carousel, the pond. That is not part of the Friends mission. Our mission is strictly on the animals and the education and their enclosures. And we really have, like I said, we're canceling our Oktoberfest event because we have no direction. What are we raising money for? Nothing is happening on that portion of the zoo. So the park side is being worked on, but we have nothing. And that's why I'm asking. It's like, I need to see a list. What's our short-term goals? What's our long-term goals? What are we working for? Because I'm not gonna go out to the public and say, hey, give me money. And in 5 years, we are still sitting on that money because there's no project in place for the zoo. And again, our side is the animals, not the.
And again, I think where we're at right now, as far as the city manager trying to organize and restructure according to what he sees, I think we need to allow him the ability to be able to. I myself think it takes about a year when you come into a new position to try and get a true handle of what you're expected to do and how you're going to do it and those kind of things. And I think as a courtesy to him, I think we have to allow him to be able to take that time to try and see what kind of direction the city is going to go as far as the zoo is concerned. I know he has a lot of other stuff like the roads, the buildings and what have you, that he has to also take into account. But I think it's important for him to take time and evaluate and see what direction, obviously talking to Jim and his staff and see what direction we can come up with. So anything else?
You do have something else to say?
If not, then this meeting is adjourned at 5:43.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.